This video is brought to you by Uranium Energy Corp, trading on the New York Stock Exchange under UEC. UEC has more than doubled their in-ground uranium resource over the past 2 years and has also become one of only 6 uranium producers in the US, one of only 12 in the world. Led by Amir Adnani, who has been ranked as one of the top resource CEOs by Casey Research, Amir has attracted major investors like Rick Rule of Sprott Asset Management, Li Ka-shing, the richest man in Asia, and institutions such as Vanguard and BlackRock. Learn more about Uranium Energy Corp at uraniumenergy.com or by calling 866-748-1030. Thank you for joining us at FutureMoneyTrends.com. I'm here at the Casey Summit with Doug Casey and Marin Katusa of Casey Research. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. I want to talk about making money today. Of course, that's why everybody shows up to your summit. Doug, what's one of your favorite investment stories from your personal investments?
I don't know. Look, I hate private equity, which is to say buying private companies with no prospect of going public. But just recently I sold out of an online university that I got into 10 years ago, and that was a 13-to-1 hit. So I'll put money in anything if it looks right at the time. And I love resource stocks because they're so volatile, and there's a whole argument that can be built for investing in natural resources. But I'll do anything if it looks like a good deal and it's the right time of the market. So, I mean, one thing that I've done over the years is buy a lot of international real estate. And that's treated me well because I bought things that I liked.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I thought that I could sell it to a greater fool. It's because I actually liked it and I liked the price. So I think it's important in the markets, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, is to keep a broad view and look at everything. Because if you've got 200 countries, there's always a couple at the bottom of the bear market, and there's always a couple that are right at the top of a bull market, and different asset classes, stocks and bonds and currencies. So you should have a wide selection of things so you can just pick the very best ones. Like, for instance, Nick Geobrano and I just went to Cyprus, where the stock market is down 98% since its peak in 2007.
Wow.
Now, this is very unusual that a national stock market has dropped not 90%, not 95%, but 98%. And this has got to get your attention. There are stocks in Cyprus right now that are selling for 10% of book value. So you have to investigate those things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my approach.
Marin, what is your favorite story right now, or favorite stories that have you excited?
I always try, and it doesn't always work, but I try to invest in what I try to call the A teams, the best management teams I can find. And right now, a few of my favorite stories are where the management own over 20% of the company themselves. Because if they have as much risk in the game as I do, I'm willing to take that bet. And they have to have the success before also.
Yeah.
And they can write checks. I don't want to invest in guys that can only come back if I finance them. I want guys who can do it without me. That's one of my little rules of thumb. I really like backing the next 10 members, such as Amir, such as Nolan, Morgan Pollockman, these kind of guys that I can know that have a great future. Then I like the Casey Explorer Leagues, like Keith Hill or Jim O'Rourke, Bob Quartermain.
Yeah. And
finding these guys, and the beauty is in this bear market, you can get the best teams at a discount. Why would I waste my time with the B players?
Yeah. On the next 10 lists, it's such an interesting list for me as a young guy, because it seems like this is something that you can invest in these people, and it could be really your only investments for the rest of your life with these people. Have all of them had some type of major setback? Because I have found in my own personal experience, major setbacks make people better.
Build character, definitely. Let's take Amir with UEC. He had the stock up to $7 at the peak of the '07 uranium bubble, okay? And I've known Amir back. He sat behind me in organic chemistry class, so I've known Amir for a long time.
Yeah.
And he was the best pitcher. Like, he's a great promoter. I call him the next Robert Friedland. When he pitched Doug and I said, we are in a bubble here for uranium. I want to see you develop your assets. And then in November of 2008, his stock went from $7 to 18 cents. And we wrote it up in our newsletter as a buy under 25 cents. Okay? Within 2 years, it ran back to $7. Okay? Now, what are these setbacks? Well, geez, there's a global crisis. He's had Fukushima to deal with, and he's took an exploration asset to production. 1 in 3,000 projects ever goes into production. Very few guys have ever been involved in something that is speculative to exploration to development and actually build production. So yes, there's a perfect example of a guy who's had a setback, but he doesn't give up and he puts more money into the deal. Those are the type of guys you want to back.
You, Doug, what are some things out there that excite you right now? Any investments out there that kind of are like a screaming buy?
Well, right now, I think we're in an investment twilight zone. I don't see an awful lot of bargains anywhere, but I'll give you a couple of ideas. I think that we're, as we speak now, at the peak and headed down on the bond bubble. And the bond bubble, I think, is bigger than the tech bubble was in 2001. It's bigger than the real estate bubble in 2007. So it's tough to do because it's a timing question. But if you can be short bonds over the years to come, you're going to make a lot of money. That's number one. As interest rates go up, this has got interesting consequences for the real estate market, for the stock market, but let's not talk about that. Second thing I'd look at are the junior resource stocks have just been devastated over the last 18 months, and I suspect that there's a bubble that's going to be ignited in them. So the potential exists for getting not just double or triple, but 5 to 1 or even 10 to 1 on your money. They're the most volatile sector of the market that there is, so I'd look at them to go long.
Does it require a booming economy for these resource stocks to go up?
No, not necessarily. It's helpful because you want high commodity prices, but that's a very interesting thing right now. It's that even with gold at 1,300, which seemed like an insuperable number a few years ago, here it is at 1,300, and almost none of these mining companies are able to make any money at $1,300 gold. This is quite interesting, actually. So I like the junior mining stocks right now, even though we can't call them an investment because they're strictly a speculation on the gold price, a speculation on whether they can be permitted, a speculation on whether they can build the mine for reasonable costs. It's a very risky area, but if you call it right, the potential rewards are gigantic. And I've long been a believer that why should I risk 100% of my capital for a potential 10% return when in some areas of the market I can risk 10% of my capital for a potential 100% return. And that's just the way I've always been oriented psychologically towards the markets. So that's, well, other things that are kind of interesting. I think that if American bonds are a good short, Japanese bonds are an even better short, compounded by the fact that they're in Japanese yen, which they're creating even more aggressively than the U.S. government is creating U.S. dollars. So those are 3 ideas that I feel pretty good about.
Marin, at the Casey Summit, you guys have some companies. Any conference you go to, there's always a bunch of companies, but yours is unique in that did you guys invite these?
Yeah, it's invite only.
Okay.
So the last time the 3 of us sat down was about a year ago, and my favorite panel of the shows that we do is the last panel of every conference where we do our best picks.
Yeah.
And the 2 that I came up with last year who were in the room last year, one doubled and the other one's up 400%. So
wow.
People are talking about we're in a bear market in the resource sector, and I think we are, but you can still make big gains in this. And what I'm trying to emphasize to people is the most important element of investing in the junior resource sector is picking the right people. Okay? The commodity, whether oil is $150 or $50, is irrelevant if an oil explorer finds a massive oil deposit, because that is of value to a bigger company who's going to buy it.
Yeah.
Whether gold goes to $2,000 or $800 is irrelevant if you find a major economic gold deposit. Now, yes, you're going to attract a lot of attention if it's $2,000 gold and there's going to be more speculation, there's going to be more froth in the markets. But if you follow the right people, the economy or the commodity price doesn't really matter. You can still get the major returns if you're finding world-class assets.
Is everyone here that's on the next 10 list?
No, not everyone here. At this conference, we have Nolan Watson and Amir Adani at the show who are on the list.
Okay, and then in the room, or I guess tomorrow, you'll do your top picks. Doug, you'll do your top picks, or just who will do them?
I don't do picks. Marin is, look, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've got to tell you that Marin is the best disciplined, the most knowledgeable stock picker in this field ever.
That's an amazing.
Oh, but it's true. I'm not just blowing smoke.
Yeah,
it's a fact. So I don't do stock picks anymore. I'm more interested in doing other things, and leave that to Marin because he's very, very good, and I kid you not.
In closing, for fun, this is actually one of the top 10 questions from our members before I came here. Did you guys have a mentor in your youth? And if so, how did you meet them? Doug, we'll start with you.
Well, I wish I had. I could have saved myself a lot of time and a lot of money. So I had to try to figure all this stuff out by myself. What are you going to do? It's the luck of the draw.
Who do you listen to or read? I mean,
well, look, there's some guys that are in this business that I've considered to be something, have a genius for it. Richard Russell is a guy. He's a World War II veteran, but always been one of the best intuitive judges of the markets that I can think of. So I'm going to put a plug in for Dick there. And who else? Well, I've got a lot of friends in the business, and some of them are very good. But Marin is quite correct. You've got to bet with the people, because good people make for good business, and bad people make for bad business. So it's a question of making a correct judgment of the character of the people you're dealing with. Not just their technical competence, but also their basic character. And since I am in this business and have to associate with people, I'd much rather associate with decent people than clever people who can't be trusted. So, and that's an endorsement for all the people on our next 10 list and our Explorers list both. They qualify both technically and character-wise, as far as I'm concerned.
Marin, did you have a mentor in your youth? Although you're still young, how old are you?
35.
35. So who are your mentors, I guess I should ask that?
I've been lucky. I've been very fortunate. I had from an early on, my dad was a complete workaholic, and I developed a hard discipline for work from my dad. Met Doug very early on, and Doug's been a great mentor for me, always made time, taught me the ropes, and more importantly, Doug gave me the keys to the empire. And through that, I met and became very close friends with Rick. And that's how Rick became partner in our funds. He offered to buy out our funds, and I just said, look, I'm not a gun for hire. And we ended up creating a partnership, and Rick became a great mentor. And another one that I've learned a lot on the development from is Jim O'Rourke. Not only is he in the Canadian Hall of Fame of Mining, he's got the Order of BC, and together we developed, and I've been on the board of a company called Copper Mountain, which today is the third largest copper producer in the country. And 7 years ago, we stood at a Casey conference and said to everybody, we're going to put this mine into production. Remember what the number is, 1 in 3,000 projects ever goes into production. And Jim O'Rourke did it. So the three main guys in the mining business have been Doug Casey, Rick Rule, and Jim O'Rourke.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on wealth building and investing and speculating. Appreciate your time.
I expect we'll see you here next year.
Every year. Marin.